Well, fine. I mean, if that's what you want to do, be all
Well,
like,
that is what I do, and all right, we're good. We're good to go now. I'm recording. We're fine. We're fine. We're good.
Okay, well, okay, it sounds good. I mean, that's a sound decision to make. So,
Uh,
so I was at a wedding this weekend. It was
oh,
actually
were
on
you?
Friday. It was a Friday night. Yeah, the wedding was so beautiful. Even the cake was in tears.
That's oh. Oh, that is bad. Actually, that was actually pretty good. You know, funny. I didn't even think of any jokes. Dang,
Aww.
I didn't even think of anything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well,
Epic fail. So you're gonna have to carry the comedy load today, I guess.
okay, sounds good. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling. I am your host.
And other stuff.
Oh yeah, and other stuff. I'm sorry. AppenRoid Talks About Wrestling and other stuff, apparently. I am your host. I am Rue. And with me, as always, is my best friend.
Oh, this is Archie. I am always excited about doing this. Sometimes. So... but actually, I am very excited to do this. We haven't been in the real mode to do this lately. We've been real busy as of late. So, I picked up Destiny earlier this week. So I've been I've been kind of in my own little shell, in my own little hole, for like the past week or so, just chilling out and playing some Destiny. But I'm excited to be doing this again. It's always a great time and everything. So, Rue, what do we have on our plate today?
Well, first of all, I want to mention that, just like you said, we haven't really done anything, we haven't recorded anything. The main reason, of course, is because Destiny just came out, and if you haven't played it yet, which I have not, there's nothing about that game that I haven't heard that's terrible. And yeah. I know Archie's been stuck all week playing that game, and keeping up with other with other people. And if you've been keeping an eye on our Twitch channel, he's been doing some live casting of video game videos. So if you're interested in seeing Destiny and you haven't seen it or haven't bought it yet, Archie's been playing, and he's been playing with his friends over in Tennessee and whatnot. And so we haven't really. I actually purposely didn't even talk to Archie much at all this week because I knew he was going to be busy. So,
well, I see how it is. Don't even. I could have died, and you wouldn't even known.
That's true, but I think your wife would have told me.
That's true. Yeah, probably.
But I just know how it is when it comes to a big game, and I haven't picked up Destiny because I don't really have the time to play it. Yes, it's a first-person shooter, but I know when Archie's really excited about a video game. Like, I didn't talk to him like that first week or so when MLB The Show came out and everything. I'm like, I'm just gonna let him be because he's gonna be busy playing and whatnot.
Well,
but
what's the thing? Like I told you earlier, I would love for you to be able to pick up the game, to play it, to play it as well. But it's one of those things where if you don't have the time to really invest into it, then I wouldn't, because it will take up a whole heck of a lot of your time to be able to do it, to be able to get through. You just get so distracted in the game of wanting to do so many different things in it that it takes up so much time. And luckily I have a very understanding wife who's actually she actually cheered me on because I wanted to get to level 20 by the end of the weekend. And I hit that mark last night, so she was very excited for me to be able to do that, even if it was forced enthusiasm, and even if it was fake. I was very happy that she was trying. She was trying her best to cheer me on. So anyway, yeah. So
yeah,
so yes,
see, that's what I'm talking about.
We've been yeah, so we've been a little bit busy this past week, but we're glad to be back and doing this, and hopefully you guys we'll have a good podcast for you guys today.
Yeah, and and in the meantime, I mean, not a lot of stuff has come out. A lot of actually depressing news has come out, but let's start off with talking about Raw. We started off Raw, which was the quote unquote season premiere. Don't know what that means really.
I don't either.
Started off with a cage match, which thankfully puts the end to the Bray Wyatt Chris Jericho storyline. Thankfully now. What did you think of that match?
It was their best match out of the whole little series of matches that they've had.
I agree.
It was finally it was that match is what I think their first match should have been, and then they should have been able to build upon that. But unfortunately, they saved the best for last, which I guess is okay. But it, in my opinion, it kind of had a pay-per-view, feel to it. The match itself did. And, we don't see a whole lot of, we really don't see a whole lot of high-flying, dangerous maneuvers being done anymore. WWE has been very careful on pretty much limiting what their wrestlers can and can't do now. That's why you don't see a whole lot of dangerous stuff being done in TLC matches or Money in the Bank matches. You'll see some pretty cool stuff, but not what there used to be.
Kind of strange to have a cage match too on Raw and have it open up the show,
and have it open up the show, but not only one cage match, but two. There was two cage match spots. There was two cage spots on the show, and I'll just put it that way. And to see Jericho jump off the top of the cage with a crossbody was pretty sweet because I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting him to jump off. I know he's in great shape. I know that DDP Yoga has been doing an awesome job for him and keeping him in great shape and everything, but he is getting up there, in the age, So it was when he was standing up there and the Wyatt family was on the outside, kind of keeping him up there cornered, and he turns around and then there's Bray Wyatt, and I was like, oh no, oh please no, I wanted to see him jump, but I didn't because I was so afraid that somebody was gonna get hurt. Then he just throws up his hands like, oh well, let's do this, and he jumps, and I was like, ah. But thankfully, he was all right. So then, at first, I really did think that he hurt his knee or his ankle or whatever it was, and I was like, oh crap, of course, he does this high spot and now he's hurt. But thankfully, that's not the case. But what were your thoughts?
Well, I have never been comfortable with anyone jumping off of a cage in any sense of the form. I think I've been scarred by Mick Foley jumping off the top of the cell, but I don't know, it just seems so ridiculous to have such a high spot, and in his earlier career, I would have been like, yeah, Jericho can do it, I have no problem with him doing it, he'll be just fine. But like you said, he is getting up there in age. He doesn't really have to be doing that anymore. And it just seemed like one of those things like, okay, well, maybe he's just going to start climbing down. I didn't think for 1 second he was going to jump. And then he jumped and still lost the match. But that's okay. I think overall I was just happy to see Bray Wyatt come out with the victory. And he actually looked good. I don't know. I would have preferred him pinning Jericho as opposed to escaping the cage, but that's all right.
Yeah. It was.
I'm just really happy to see where the next step is for both guys, and it seems like the company is leaning towards Jericho having a program with Randy Orton, and Bray Wyatt having a program with Dolph Ziggler. Now I don't think they've done that on TV yet, but. I don't know, when Dolph Ziggler's done with the Miz, it looks like Bray Wyatt's going to be the next person he's going to be dealing with.
Yeah, well, which would be kind of cool. I'd like to see that. It'd be interesting to see what exactly, their reasonings for their feud is going to be. That's, for Bray Wyatt and Dolph Ziggler. It's just, I'm a little iffy on, all right, why are they feuding? Why... What are the reasons for this? And the same thing with Randy Orton and Chris Jericho, because it just seemed like Randy Orton just attacked him out of nowhere, and then it was just like, hey, you're here, I'm just gonna beat the crap out of you and yell. What? It's the season premiere, You know,
it just seemed like Randy was walking by the trainer's room, saw Jericho. I'm like, I'm gonna hit him. Bam!
Yeah, I'm gonna hit
bash
him,
his knee right into the side.
Yeah, and then just tell him that it's the season premiere.
Yeah,
like I'm attacking you because it's the season premiere. No other reason whatsoever. But
yeah, I was picturing in my head like, what was the reason for that? Is it that just to set up a feud, or I just like thought in my head like Randy was like eating some like like vegetables with some dip, and he had, and he's like, oh, Jericho's in there, throw it away, bam, and attack him from behind. Season premiere, I gotta be on the show for some reason.
But it was just that spot. It just kind of felt just weird to me. Just a weird way to start a feud, and a weird way for him to, I don't know, just to say it's the season premiere, and I don't know. That's just what I think. I just thought it was kind of a weird spot and a weird way to kind of start a feud. I think that those two can have a great match together and have a good feud. So I'm interested to see where it goes from here. I just thought that it was a weird way to start it. So hopefully it gets better.
Well, the thing is, it's not like they didn't have an opportunity to do it later, because Randy main evented Raw with Roman Reigns, and then he and Seth Rollins and Kane ended up outnumbering Reigns in the match. It's not like that wasn't an opportunity for Jericho to come in and be like, hey, this isn't right, and then insert himself in a physical confrontation with the three guys. I was like, that's an opportunity. Why have Jericho get blindsided because it's the season premiere, backstage? Didn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
No, I mean, it didn't. I mean, but at the same time, though, would it have made sense for him to come down at the very end and try to help out Reigns as he was getting beat down, after suffering a knee injury and trying to sell a knee injury, or an ankle injury. Was it a knee or ankle? I'm trying to remember.
I think it's knee. I think it was a knee injury.
Was it knee? Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, would that have made sense though for him to try to come down and and save Reigns, on one knee basically?
Well, I mean, they could have set it up. I mean, every show, in my opinion, should be built up towards a main event. So they could have said, Reigns is getting ready backstage and Jericho's hobbling along on one knee and is like, be careful, I've been there with Randy Orton and everything, I know what he's capable of. And Reigns would be like, all right, cool, thanks, and everything. I mean, they could have set it up with backstage vignettes all the way leading up to the main event, because that is how a show should be built up, and that's the way it could have made sense. I mean, look at me booking Raw right now, but it's just that's the way it would have made sense. To have Jericho insert himself in that situation and try to save Roman Reigns, kind of a thing. I think it would have been a better way to set up Jericho and Randy Orton as opposed to a random attack. But whatever. I mean, we're talking about the same Raw that had Jerry Springer try to be the moderator between the Bella twins and then get himself basically knocked over in a confrontation. That's so ridiculous.
Do we have to talk about that segment?
No, because I'm ready to talk about the next one. Because we talked about Dolph Ziggler and The Miz. Oh boy. And this funny thing is that my favorite part of that segment, because, for anyone who didn't watch it, Dolph Ziggler was basically, this is WWE, this is the reality area, so they're going to do whatever they can to put a lot of, pop culture news in there. And, of course, they referenced the nude photo scandals being leaked on the internet. And Dolph Ziggler started to show, random embarrassing photos of The Miz backstage. And then out comes The Miz with his stunt double, Damian, Mizdow or something like that?
Mizdow.
His stunt double.
Mizdow.
Oh my gosh. And Damian was my favorite part of that segment. Because every motion The Miz did, Damian, as the stunt double, repeated mirrored the exact same move that he was doing. It was the funniest thing. Oh, I love it.
The thing that I'm loving about, you and I, like we've said, we haven't been a fan of The Miz in the past. We've never, I'm really liking what's going on with him right now, and him and Damian Sandow. I'm liking this, because it's just funny. They're calling him a stunt double, right? He looks nothing like the Miz.
No.
And on top of that, he's got a full, huge beard. I mean, so it's like, and Miz has a baby face, and Damian Sandow's got this huge, full beard that he's rocking. And so it makes no sense whatsoever, but it's so funny at the same time because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And Damian is that good. I mean, he's got great comedic timing and everything, he's just very talented. And while it's a shame to see someone of his caliber being relegated to this, they are still using him to his abilities, and he's just very, very funny. And I don't know, for some reason, for the Intercontinental title feud to be overshadowed by a guy who doesn't say anything, who doesn't really do anything, I don't know, just it was funny to me. I really enjoyed that segment.
Yeah, it was a very funny segment. I agree. And like you said, it's a shame in a way that Damian Sandow isn't being used to his full potential, to what we know that he can do, because we loved the savior of the unwashed masses gimmick. We loved that. Because to me it showed like the old school heel type stuff. But the fact that, someone's got to kind of fill the comedic role now that Santino's gone, and it seems like Damian has filled that spot, but he's filling that spot in a different way. He's not I can't say overboard, because some of the stuff that he has done in the recent weeks has been kind of overboard. But he's kind of, like you said, he's silently, playing this comedic heel role. And it's working very, very well. So I agree with you. That's the segment was funny. Like you said, they're in the reality era right now, so they're really playing up on all this kind of stuff, which I have very mixed feelings about, in itself. But that's a whole nother beast. That's a whole nother animal there to even deal with and to talk about. And so, but as far as this segment goes, I thought it was hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. For the season premiere of Raw, there was actually a lot of misses in my opinion, and there were actually quite a few hits that they had. And I don't know. It was a stupid segment. It was a ridiculous segment, but I really enjoyed. I don't know, just like for the point where he's like pointing at the ring and Dolph Ziggler at the same time the Miz is, and then pointing at the audience, and then taking off his sunglasses and having the same hand motions. Oh my gosh, it's just. I don't know.
The thing is I think it's segments like this that the WWE has been missing. Take a look back at segments that were like back in the Attitude Era and all that stuff. They had stupid segments like this. Think about like all the segments that there were, like with The Godfather or The Rock, or Stone Cold Steve Austin. Think about all these dumb little segments that there were, that were just so stupid that they were funny.
Like all the Val Venus stuff.
Yeah, and all the Val Venus stuff. Man, the things that they got away with, some of the stuff that he said. Wow. It still gets me. That would never fly today on TV. But
like him getting castrated? No way.
But that's if you think about it, is my buddy and I, Will, were talking at work the other day about wrestling and everything, and he said that he says that he misses the days where there were actual gimmicks and there were actual characters, not just people wrestling by their names.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like now he goes, it just seems so generic. People are wrestling by their names, like Randy Orton and John Cena. And he's like, nobody. He's like, what happened to characters like The Rock? What happened to characters like stuff like that? What happened to actual gimmicks, actual characters? He said that's what made it entertaining for him. was that it took him out of reality. That it put him in this kind of world where there were other different characters where it wasn't like they were real people. And I I agreed with him. I said, that's a very valid point. I said, but he said he hasn't watched recently. And I said, they are bringing back characters now, which is kind of nice to see. They are bringing back, that kind of thing. And he said it is very entertaining, and it's actually very nice to see, being an old school fan, where growing up with all those kind of characters, it's not as, the wrestlers aren't as generic, as they used to be. And some people, the new age wrestling fan, like I said, like I've said in podcasts before, they kind of make me upset, because wrestling fans aren't what they used to be, in my opinion. So I don't know.
Well, there is something to that. No, there is something to that. I don't know. We've been wrestling fans long enough, and you and I, we really delve into history sometimes. Well, I do a lot, but I don't know. Something about the business as a whole is, I don't know. It's like a cyclical. I guess if you want to say it like that. There's just so many things that come back. It's like you have names like people who just are wrestlers and you know them by their name, and then they become characters. Like there's like this new generation becomes characters, and then you have this the next generation that's back to their names. We know them by their names again, and then now we're going back to almost where it's a mesh of characters and real names and everything. I mean, look prior to the rock and wrestling era. Look at the guys who were champions. You had Pedro Morales. You had Bruno Sammartino. You had Bob Backlund. All names. They're actual names. You can even go further than that. You have you got Buddy Rogers. You got Lou Thez. I mean, you have this era of guys that were known by their name and they were actually names. And then Hulk Hogan comes in and changes everything. You got Hulk Hogan, Big Boss Man, Mr. Perfect, the Macho Man Randy Savage. You have all these larger than life characters, that all spawned from one guy called Superstar Billy Graham, who was a character, who was the only character at the time, in that era, and then all of a sudden it's all cartoony. And then we get into the Attitude Era, where we start making fun of all those cartoony characters and getting people like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and getting people who go by their real names. And then you have the Ruthless Aggression Era, and you got the reality area that we're in now, where they're all names. You got Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler's not his real name, but that's what he's going to be called, You got all these guys who just go by their real names, but you also have characters, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle because, just wrestling as a whole, it needs to cycle out. It needs to, they need to find something, and once that niche is no longer what's getting fans, they have to change. And that's kind of what we are in now. And that's something that Vince McMahon's been really good about over years and years and years of working in the business, is that he knows that things have to change. He knows things have to, keep up. And, that's why, companies like TNA died. That's why companies like WCW died. I know TNA's still alive, but come on, they're dead.
That's true. I agree with you. In the wrestling world, especially with wrestling, this can be said about anything. You really need to keep evolving to stay alive. You need to keep changing. You need to keep on doing it, because the world is always going to be changing. People, their opinions on things and their likes and their dislikes are always going to be changing. So you kind of have to adapt with everything. And now, like you said, that's something that WWE has always been good about. They've always been able to, keep up with those times, and keep up with the changes. The only thing, I know this is like the reality era or whatever. Have they officially called it the reality era, or is this just something that we're kind of coming up with on our own?
I think that's something the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, has come up with, because it seems to work,
Yeah, it does. It seems to work. But the thing is, I still think that they need to. I know this is going to kind of segue into the stupid Jerry Springer segment, but I don't like the fact that, all right, WWE is doing their own, they've done doing their own reality shows. They're doing Legends House. They're doing Total Divas. I don't like the fact though that especially Total Divas and what they're doing with the Bella Twins. I don't like the fact that they're intertwining. I think they need to be kept separate. If they're going to do a reality show about the Divas, great. Do the reality show, but keep it separate. Don't intertwine it with your other show. And I feel like that's what is going on right now. And I don't like that. It's just like, keep them separate. Keep them separate. Don't, like I said, I don't watch the show itself, Total Divas, but
it's so funny, dude.
But it just seems like they're intertwining this stuff, and I don't like that. I think it needs to be its own separate entity. It needs to stay where it's at. And for people who like to watch, Total Divas, awesome. Keep watching it. And I think it's a great thing for people who are not wrestling fans, who maybe, it can bring in some new viewers, or new. So I think it's a great business, it's great for the business, I think, and anything that's great for the business, I'm all for. Do I like the show, or will I watch it? No, but I'm a fan of the wrestling. I'm a fan of the wrestling show, and not the reality shows. I've never been a fan of reality shows. Never.
No.
Never. I've never been a fan of reality shows. The only reality show that I liked was Tough Enough, but that was based, on, wrestling, and that's what I liked. But I think they need to keep these shows separate. If they really start to, intertwine the shows even more than what they already are, I think it's just a bad idea. And so I don't know, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, Vince McMahon has been really good about really seeing things coming, or seeing a vision before anyone else will. I mean, just look at WrestleMania. No one thought that was going to be successful. Everyone thought that was going to be like the worst investment that he could possibly make for his company and for his business. And it's been said, if it wasn't a success, Vince McMahon probably would have been bankrupt. And that's entirely possible. Now look at it. 30 years later, I mean, he sees things in a way that no one else does, and I believe Triple H when he says that Vince McMahon may never ever retire, and a lot of this is just because he's put so much of himself into it, and he does see the company going in a direction that he believes is going to be beneficial for the long term, eventually for whenever his daughter and his son-in-law, or even his son, comes back, to take over the business. It just so. To have the reality era, to have that mesh with everything else, all the shows, being in the same, universe, I guess. We may not agree with it, but Vince has a way about it, and you can't deny what the guy's track record. To have to have a business for 30 plus years and still be going in the direction that it's going now. I mean, this is a volatile business. Not everyone can say that they've had a wrestling company that they inherited from their dad and made it 10 times more profitable than it ever had been before. And no one else can say that. So, I mean, the guy's track record is the proof is in the pudding, is how they say it. And
well, I know.
I don't know.
I'm not saying that I don't have faith in Vince McMahon and the product that he puts out and what, in his decision making, because obviously, like you said, his track record is amazing. Nobody thought that, everybody thought that WrestleMania was probably either going to be very successful, or like you said, he was going to be bankrupt and we wouldn't have a WWE today, but it's just one of those things where it's just a personal preference of mine. I'm not saying that, just because I think it's a bad idea doesn't mean you think it's a bad idea or somebody else thinks. This is just my personal preference. I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm not saying that this is going to be something that is going to be like the most terrible idea ever, and that it's not gonna work, and then it's gonna turn people away, and people are gonna stop watching. It's just my personal preference, and I think it's a bad idea. I think that they need to keep things separate. I think they need to keep shows separate. Like, so for anybody that may be listening to this, and want to bash me for thinking that this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to state it as like a fact. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of things that have come up, that we've seen, and we're like, oh, that sucks. That's a really bad idea. Like, why do they keep X-Pac on TV for so long? That kind of stuff. It's like, we've seen bad things, and it really didn't do any good for anybody. And so just, I'm sorry, that was like that's like the quickest thing that came up with, just, as in terms of like, oh yeah, it's a terrible idea, but it's applicable, but yeah, so yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it actually works out. I mean, it has to be played just right. It has to be played where if you're going to tie everything in, it's got to be done right. And let's just hope that it is, because I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with it. I really hope they don't feature Legends House or anything on Raw or SmackDown. I mean, because I could care less about that show. Which, by the way, is a nice little segue out of that, is that I hear that Legends House may actually not return for another season due to budgetary concerns.
Well,
I mean, how depressing is that? Just like
my heart is literally breaking right now.
Yeah.
Literally.
I think we need to have a moment of silence for the death of a reality show. Okay, so anyways, the next piece of business.
What's that, like a 0.2 moment of silence?
There's some pretty sad news came out this week, and we'll touch on this because it involves someone who not many of the casual fans know, and then someone who's a legend. The first one we're going to talk about, news came out earlier last week that Sean O'Hare has passed away.
Yes.
Reports came out that he was found dead and may have committed suicide, and it's just really sad. The first time I ever saw Sean O'Hare was actually in WCW. He was part of the New Blood, I think, was the organization he was part of. And very, very impressive sight. He was 6'6". He had, this look about him that, he had that it factor. He was very muscular, but also it was a really impressive high flyer. I mean, he did the Swanton bomb that he called the Shanton bomb. Horrible name. But it was impressive to see. Well, it was impressive to see a guy his size doing that and doing it very well.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. He had the it factor as far as he had the look, he had the athleticism. He was a very good, like you said, he had the moves. He was a great wrestler, and he had character. So he had the it factor, and it's just it's just so sad to see somebody go. Was he 45? I think they said he was like 40, mid 40s at least. And it's sad, so sad to see yet another one gone. Just gone so soon, and and there just seems to be a string of, I mean, in the wake of what happened with Robin Williams and. And another one that hits closer to home, with you guys, with what happened this past, week or two with what's going on with you, back in Michigan with some of our friends back up there, so it's just it's hard to put into words just what somebody could. You never know what somebody's feeling. Or what somebody is going through, and there may not have been any signs, or telltale signs, that Sean O'Hare was really struggling with anything. But it just we need we need to be more aware, as individuals, as people, especially with those around us and our friends, to really take the time out of our day to say, hey, are you okay? Or,
Yeah.
or to really, really inquire and make sure that the people that we love and care about are one, getting the help that they need if they are suffering from any sort of depression or anything like that. It's, I know this is kind of getting a little somber, and we're usually very, very upbeat and very entertaining, but at the same time, when there are serious matters, that need to be discussed, and stuff that hits home to us, it's something that we get very passionate about as well. And one thing that, I know, Rue, I know you're a very caring individual. You've been my friend since, we were, 6 years old at least, 6, 7. And, I always make it a point, and you always make it a point to ask me every day, are you okay? Hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And I think that's something that everybody needs to be aware of. Don't just always assume that somebody is okay, and make sure that you take the time out of your day to tell the people that you love them and whatnot. So it's just a sad thing, especially in the wake of what's been going on in the past few weeks. There just seems to be a lot of suicide lately. You know what I mean? It's just sad to see. It just, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for people that think that they had no hope, that they had nowhere else to go, they had nobody to turn to, or they felt like they didn't. And that's something that I never want anybody to ever feel. And so, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling now, Rue. Go ahead.
No.
Share your thoughts.
No, I mean, you said it. Yeah, you said it, man. I mean, it's just, it's unfortunate. We all have people in our lives that deal and struggle with these things and everything, and it's just it's really sad to see it still coming up, and that's life, unfortunately. That's
Yeah.
unfortunately the cycle of life, and there's one of the things that people want is like, oh, we need to find an answer for this. Well, unfortunately, there isn't an answer for this kind of stuff.
There isn't an answer for it. I mean, it's not like you can do research, and say, how can we stop this? I mean, how can we, there's not there are, medications people can take to help with depression, but ultimately it comes down to that person. It comes down to that person's decision. It's, I don't want to go, I don't want to go too far in saying anything, that may offend anybody, so it's just, because I have very strong views on suicide and everything, and I don't want to go too far to say anything. It's just, I just want, I want people to always, to always know that there's a different way. There is a different way to dealing with those. I mean, I've gone through things and horrific things in my life as well, and that thought had never ever crossed my mind. I know I'm a different person, and I'm different than other people, and everybody's different in their own way, in their own thinking, and how they deal with their own problems and everything like that. It's just but as much as Rue, you know what I've gone through. You knew everything that I had to deal with, and but that is one thing that never ever crossed my mind, was to take myself away from the people that do love me and care about me, and make their lives hell just because mine was at the time, and so, but I don't know. That's just, like I said, I don't want to go too far, so I'm just going to stop there, and
all right.
We'll move on.
And you said it well. And the other piece of sad news that we heard this past week is actually it's actually not sad because of the way the guy's handling it. A legend, a guy who's a Hall of Famer and one of my all-time favorites from the yesteryears of wrestling, Jake the Snake Roberts, revealed that he actually has his cancer has returned, and but he is handling it very, very well. He's handling it like a champ. He's trying to be inspirational and being very positive about it. And he's very thankful for a lot of the support he's been getting. And it's really relief considering what he's gone through and considering the people he's around and everything. And I mean, you and I mean, we have friends and family that are dealing with cancer and everything, and it's just. It's amazing that they're still willing to be strong in times where it's a really tough time. It's a really tough time. But Jake the Snake Roberts, it's sad to hear that his cancer's back, but the man is resilient. He's gone through so much in his life, and so it's just another chapter and such an amazing story. And I hope for the best for him. I hope that he does he pulls out of this one too, because
I mean, I really do as well. It's never a fun thing to hear. That someone you care about, they're once you've celebrated that their cancer is gone, and celebrating the fact that thank the Lord, it's gone in remission, and to have it return, is never a good thing, but the fact that he's handling it well, despite everything that he has gone through in his career, personally and professionally, is remarkable, because honestly, Jake the Snake is one of those guys that I'm surprised is still alive. It's just.
And he will be the first to tell you he's surprised that he's alive too.
And it's just every single time that every time I'll go on on a website, Lords of Pain or 411 Mania or something like that, to look at news, and if I see a title that says former WWE Hall of Famer wrestler passes away, he's always usually the first one that I think of. It was always him or Scott Hall, one of the two, and the fact that he's still around, that he is changing his life around and taking this news so very well, I guess as well as one could, and is very positive and thankful for all the support is amazing. It's incredible, especially with his story and where he's come from and where he was and where he is now. It's such a wonderful thing to see somebody who has gone through so much, like I said, both professionally and personally, just to see him kind of trying to rise above all this and be very positive is an amazing feat. It's an amazing thing to see him. I think this is part of his greatest journey. This is the past few years has been, if I don't want to take, put any words in his mouth or anything, but I would think that he would say that this is probably, the best that he's ever felt in his life. So yeah, I don't know. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, if you're a casual fan and you haven't really watched a lot of old stuff from WWE and everything like that, and don't really know Jake Roberts and that kind of his kind of story. I mean, he has an amazing story, but like you said, the past couple of years have been probably one of the most incredible couple of years in his life, and it's been very well documented in documentaries as well as DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, has been putting up videos frequently about Jake Roberts' recovery from alcohol and drug abuse, and so I strongly urge you, if you're listening to this and you haven't really seen anything about Jake Roberts, just go on YouTube. Well, if you're listening to this, you're probably on YouTube already. Just search for Jake the Snake Roberts or Jake Roberts and DDP or DDP Yoga, and you'll see a man who was close to death come back, and just his journey in the past couple of years has been amazing, and I've been watching
Oh
closely.
yeah.
I got into DDP yoga because of it, and yeah, it's just amazing. And it's unfortunate to see that he has cancer again, but just after everything he's gone through, I can't imagine that he's not gonna be able to just beat this. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able. I can't
Exactly.
think for one second that he is not gonna be a stronger, even stronger person than he was before because of this. And so it's unfortunate, but if there's anyone I'm pulling for, it's Jake. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He was one of my favorites. Growing up. I mean, I've said it before. I think he's probably the greatest when it came to in-ring psychology, and knowing how to really instill fear into his opponents, as well as just the fans watching. He just he had it. He like Sean O'Hare, like we said, he had the it factor. Jake the Snake, he has the it factor. And had an incredible career, and it's been an incredible journey for him, regardless of everything that he has been through. So, like you said, if there's anybody that we are pulling for to really get through this and to be able to beat the cancer that has returned, it'd be Jake. So I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
All right. Well, I think that's going to end it for that segment. On happier notes, then, I saw a photo. I think it was a couple days ago. An incredible photo of former UFC fighter Georges St. Pierre posing with none other than Hulk Hogan. I think it was on his Instagram where he said, "I just had breakfast with Hulk Hogan," and I'm like, is there anything that Hulk Hogan is not doing lately?
I mean, he seems to be popping up everywhere. It's like one day he's in Venice Beach, the other day he's in California. It's like where, it's like,
and then the next day he's in Japan, signing Kenta to NXT.
Signing
yeah,
Kenta, and it's like, who by the way they changed his name, so he's no longer Kenta in NXT, but
he's Hideo something. I can't remember the last name.
Yeah, Hideo Ikami or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But you're right. But Hogan just seems to be, he's everywhere. And it's like where is he finding the energy for all this stuff? I mean, he's getting up there in age too. So it's like, how in the world is he keeping his energy level to where he can, be be in Venice Beach, then, being over, promoting like the shooting commercials, for WWE 2K15, and then, like you said, flying over to Japan to help and promote the signing of Kenta. It's like, man, it's like, Hogan, this is when you're supposed to kind of be winding down, your brother. It's it's just, now is the time for him to be able to, but it's to be able to slow down. But it's nice to see him be an ambassador for the company that he really put on the map, as well as put him on the map. I think it's one of those things where, it was a perfect marriage at the time, when, WWE really got big, because of Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan got big because of WWE. And so it's really, really nice to see him be that ambassador, which I never knew if that was ever gonna come around and happen again, because of what he was trying to do with TNA, and he was all behind TNA and trying to build it, which I have no problem with. I'm glad that he did that, and was trying to help TNA out. But to me, Hulk Hogan. When I think of Hulk Hogan, I'm never gonna think TNA. I will always think WWE. Because that's where I grew up watching him. So. But
it just I don't know, for me though, like him, him not wrestling, really taking taking his wrestling aspect out of it, it's just like it seems like he's everywhere. Like his restaurant, Hogan's Beach in Tampa, is still open. I mean, what does that tell you? You know, this guy's everywhere. And I'm actually on Hogan's Beach Tampa.com to see like if the restaurant was still open. It's still open. And guess who is scheduled for a Halloween bash at Hogan's Beach on October 31st?
The Booty Man.
Vanilla Ice. I mean, come on.
Vanilla Ice.
Come on. It does not get better than that.
Well, it would have been if it was the Booty Man.
I'm sure he's a bartender there. I mean, it's Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice Halloween Bash hosted by Jimmy Hart. So, of course, the Booty Man's going to be there as the bartender. Of course.
Yes. Oh, the bartender.
So,
or is he going to be there as the barber?
So the barber. He may be cutting hair. Oh, not inside the restaurant. That doesn't sound very sanitary if he's cutting hair inside the restaurant. So
no, it doesn't. But anyway, yeah.
But that makes me think though about with Hogan, and his restaurant. Is there any Hulk Hogan movie that you like?
Oh man, good. Boy, you're gonna really make me rack my brain and think about this, aren't you?
Okay, well, there's No Holds Barred. There's Mr. Nanny.
No, dear God. There's Suburban Commando.
Suburban Commando is so ridiculously bad. I love it. I was frozen today.
But I mean,
I'm sorry. That's the best line ever.
Then there's his TV show, Thunder in Paradise.
Oh God, yes.
Shoot.
Three Ninjas at High Noon Mountain.
I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I don't have a favorite. I guess No Holds Barred is probably the better one out of them.
Oh.
I guess, but I mean, but Hogan really all he did was like those kids movies, really. I mean, if you think about it.
Oh, wait. He was in Rocky 3? He was Thunderlips?
That's right. He was Thunderlips in Rocky 3. How big of a part does it... I mean, how big of a role does he have to have in the movie in order for it to qualify?
I'm sorry, any movie that he's in, it's a Hulk Hogan movie. Like,
okay.
Like Muppets from Space, It was like a 30-second cameo. Or Gremlins 2, which is another 30-second cameo. Or right. Spy Hard, where it was a 10-second cameo.
Alright, I'm going to say I do remember... Alright, I do remember watching Suburban Commando a few different times. So I guess I'm going to have to go with Suburban Commando.
Yay!
Because that is the one that I watched the most, I think. So... Yeah, I don't even know when that movie came out. Hold on, how old was I?
It was after. It had Christopher Lloyd in it, and I'm assuming it came after Back to the Future. Suburban Commando.
I'm looking it up too. Hey, I'm looking it up. It was it got a 1 star on Rotten Tomatoes.
91. Good Lord.
Yeah, 1991. I was 11 years old when that movie came out. I didn't know The Undertaker was in it.
You didn't know that? Yeah, he was in it.
No! He played Hutch.
Well, yeah, okay, well, think of it. It was almost a year to that day when it was released that he had been in WWE. Because I think he showed up in 1990. And yeah, that sounds about right. Like a month after this movie was released is when Hogan dropped the title to The Undertaker. So actually, what kind of a tie-in is that? And how nerdy is that for me to know that that's the right time frame?
Well, I'm not going to answer that for you because I think you already know. So
Yeah. Well.
See, now I want to go back and I want to watch that stupid movie. So, dang it all. Anyway, is there anything else that we need to touch on in this episode?
I don't know. Oh yeah. So it looks like this is TNA news now. Bully Ray, who's also known as Bubba Ray Dudley, he's being courted by TNA to sign an extension. Now, when you hear someone signing an extension for their contract, you think, oh, it's going to be another 2 years, another 3 years. Nope, they're wanting to extend his contract for 2 days.
For 2 days?
Yes.
That is it?
That is all they can offer right now because he's supposed to finish out some tag team series, and then that's it. They need him for 2 more days, and
so they all they want him for is they want him to so all right. So for one, this is terrible booking on TNA's part because they couldn't figure out a way to end a certain feud, that corresponds with his contract.
Nope.
So their booking is that bad that they're like, oh crap, we don't have him signed past the day that we need him for. So let's see here. We don't really want to re-sign him. But we have to in order to finish this out. So they can, all right, instead of maybe ending the feud early, which they could have done, and found out a way to, kind of end whatever it is that they're trying to end, they're just going to try to extend him for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we wonder why TNA is not a viable wrestling company that can stick around and do anything worth any importance at all. It's 2 days. Good Lord. I mean, I've understood wrestlers who have, themselves have said, okay, let's extend my contract through a certain date or so. I know I've heard of that happening as far as wrestlers who have, renegotiated kind of like a contract to stay past a certain date, to finish up something or work past a certain date. I've heard of that. But usually it's like, another month or maybe 2 months or something like that. It's usually around, a couple months or so. I've never heard of anything that's been 2 days. Has there been any response from Bully Ray? That's what I want to know.
Okay, it says reportedly close to signing. Now, here's the thing I'm wondering. What if he doesn't sign? What if he's like, exactly. I don't want those 2 days. So that means everything that they want for their Bound for Glory pay-per-view, if it's still a pay-per-view, will be screwed if they don't make this deal good for him.
I know. I mean, they really are. I mean, it's like, what do they do for Bound of Glory? If he's like, nah, it's all right. I'm just gonna go home. I mean, what do they do? I mean, they're going to have to change a whole heck of a lot of stuff around. And for one, probably stuff that was not even going to make any sense. They're just going to have to throw somebody in his spot.
Please.
So,
have we seen anything make sense in TNA the times that we watched? Anything?
No. Yeah. And that's the thing.
So it actually be par for the course.
But the thing about TNA is, that I feel bad. I feel bad for the wrestlers, for one, because they have good talent. They've got guys over there that can perform, that they can wrestle. They have guys there that they can build around, but they don't. They don't build around guys. They don't pay their guys on time, for one, as far as I'm, from all the reports that I've heard, and it's just, Well, I mean, I know that if you're a wrestler and WWE doesn't want, if you can't get into WWE or whatnot, or they're not offering you anything, the only other option, really, if you want to stay in the States, is TNA, unless you want to try, unless you want to go back to the indie circuit,
Mm-hmm.
but who would want to? I mean, who would want to go, over there? I mean, I just don't get it. 2 days, and this is this is Bully Ray. This is a guy who's their, for one of their top stars at 40 some years old,
Mm-hmm.
and which is great for Bully Ray. He's had a great career, as far as tag team, and he's done well for himself, in singles wrestling over in TNA, which he never had over in WWE. He never had a good singles run at all over here. But it baffles me. 2 days, but I just don't know. But just go home, Bully Ray. Bully Ray, go home.
Well,
Go home.
this is one of those cases where it's the worst case scenario for TNA because it's a 2-date deal, and they're doing it specifically so they can finish out a storyline. It's for their company purposes. So
Exactly.
to get him for a 2-date deal, it's the worst possible scenario because he could basically get them for a lot of money for only 2 days, and then
Yeah.
it's not like they don't have the money to do it. I mean, the Carter family is very, very wealthy, and it's not like they can't afford it. It's just that that's a horrible precedent if they continue to do business. It's just terrible.
And it is. It's a horrible precedent for one because, like you said, they only want to extend his contract for the benefit of the company and the benefit of the pay-per-view, that they're putting on. This has nothing to do with, hey, Bully Ray, we really, really want you to stay here because we think that you are an asset to our company, and it's not like they're saying, hey, let's extend your contract for another couple years. We really want you here. We want you to be a viable player. We want you to be, we have something for you. That we want to give you a push. We want to do this with you. Like you said, it has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with, oh man, we just need you for a couple days and that's it.
That's it.
I mean, if you are Bully Ray, how would that make you feel? Be like, all right, they want to sign me again. But well, how does that phone call go? Or how does that meeting in the office go? Hey, Bully Ray, we want to negotiate another contract with you. Great, that sounds awesome. What are you guys thinking? 2 days. What? I mean, if you are Bully Ray, how does that make you feel that they only want you for those 2 days and that's it?
Well, okay, and once again, I'm not there. I don't know him personally. I don't know the company personally, but this is how I'm thinking. This is the company that made him a top star. This is the company that made him the #1 heel in their company, and he had a run. He was a world champion there, and everything. And the fact that they can't entice him to sign a long-term contract goes to show to me that he does not have a good relationship with them in the first place. So
you're right. And on top of that, we've said, in one of our other podcasts, I think, if I can remember correctly, that, I mean, he's always said that he wants to go back to WWE.
Yep. And they obviously can't make it. They obviously can't make it worth his while to stay and be the face, or at least be the heel face of the company. So
Right.
so to me, for him to want to be in WWE again and finish out his career just goes to show he doesn't have a good relationship with TNA. And
That's
so
true.
it just for me, it's just like, oh, it's probably just a phone call. Hey, you don't want to be here. Your contract's ending up, but we do need you for these 2 days, kind of a thing. But it's just so ridiculous that obviously the guy doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
So,
he doesn't want to be there, but I guess, I mean, if he wants to work those 2 days, if he wants that extra couple days, milk TNA for all they're worth, or all they can get. get everything you can out of it for those 2 days. You know,
Do the
might
Jeff
as well.
Jarrett thing. Yeah, do the Jeff Jarrett thing. Jeff Jarrett did the same thing to WWE back in '99. He was supposed to work a program with China, and the day that was a pay-per-view, it was a pay-per-view payoff of the angle where she was going to beat him for a title, and Vince McMahon did not know that his contract ended actually a day before the pay-per-view. And so he talked with Jarrett. He talked with Jarrett and said, "Hey, can you work this? And we'll make it worth your while." And Jarrett, no money, no amount has been disclosed, but Jarrett was known to take them to the cleaners for that one. He made them pay out the nose just for one appearance, and obviously burned his bridge with WWE. You know, it obviously burned his bridge with WWE. He's never come back since. He had to make TNA, which is now dying. You know, and
yep. And now he's trying to do his own wrestling promotion, which cannot seem to get off the ground either. Surprise, surprise. So
they did well for the time that they had. You know, and actually had a conversation with the young man on our Twitter account. You know, and he was talking about TNA and everything, and it's funny too because he's actually only been watching the past couple of years, and he hasn't really known some of the earlier stuff. And I was like, well, you should watch this match. You should watch this match and everything. And it's funny because I was reminiscing and telling him about certain matches that TNA had. And the sad thing is, they had really good matches. It's just that somewhere along the line they lost. They had no idea how to identify themselves. And actually, Paul Heyman talked about this, that they never actually considered themselves a brand other than WWE Light. You know, that was it. And that's exactly how I feel. They never had an identity. We're just a promotion that's got a 6-sided ring. That's it, you know. And we got all these guys who used to be in WWE, or all these guys that you do for the independents, like Ring of Honor and everything like that. That's it. They never identified themselves, and it's a shame. But,
it is.
Oh well, you know.
Oh well, what can you do? What can you do?
Well, you know, I mean, you know, I guess the only thing you can really do is, really. I mean, I guess in closing, and I want this to be the last thing that all of our listeners listen to, is just that back to the Hulk Hogan thing, because I forgot to mention this earlier. Hulk Hogan is actually filming a movie for WWE Studios with Ken Jeong from the the Hangover series, John Lovitz,
Hangover and Community, John Lovitz. Oh man, and
David Hasselhoff. So just imagine what that movie is going to look like.
I don't even know. I haven't.
I'm so excited because
it can't be good, that's for sure. But I mean, it's gonna be. I have a feeling though it's gonna be one of those movies that's so bad that it's good. It's gonna be so bad that it's gonna be like, it'll probably be on a collection on both of our shelves or something whenever it comes out.
They have me at Hasselhoff, okay?
Hasselhoff. Oh my goodness. All right. Anyway, yeah, let's call it a day. I'm exhausted. This is exhausting.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for following us. We are on Twitter, and we do talk to everybody who talks to us because what else are we gonna do? So we're also
we got nothing else to do.
We are also on Twitch. Archie's been putting up videos of Destiny, and like I mentioned, and he'll do Battlefield and everything. And I'm still waiting for him to do more live streams of Last of Us and some other games. But he thinks for once he thinks that he knows better than what our viewers and listeners and fans want.
Well, I've already played through Last of Us.
He thinks that we don't want. He thinks he knows what we want, not what we want, and it's a shame because it's very Vince McMahon like for him, to want to do that. Like, I want him to do a live stream of Outlast, and we've actually had quite a few requests of that. And so far, he's just like, oh, it's too scary. It's
Shut
too
up.
scary.
You know what? Well, fine. If you think Rue, if you think I'm so much like Vince McMahon, then you're fired. There.
See what I mean? See what I'm talking about?
Boo.
So this will be my last podcast. Archie's going to be doing it from now on by himself.
By myself. I'm gonna do all my character voices just back and forth. That's all I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and he'll do a character voice for me that sounds like some strange Asian / Southern accent kind of a thing, you know. And wow, actually, that's a very interesting image in my head of just trying to imagine that. Anyway, so thank you again for listening. I am your host. I am Rue, and with me, as always, is my best friend.
Oh, this is Archie. This was a blast. I had a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it very, very, very much.
All right, take care, guys.
Yes. See you later.